Hello everyone, it's Cassie and welcome back for another Trinity stamps video. Today we're going to be making another outer space card, and let's talk about what we're using before we get to that. This is the Milky Way stamp set. I am absolutely in love with this stamp set. The retro feel of it and that adorable cow just have me smiling. I love it so much, and there are matching dies to go along with all of those pieces along with all of the words. We're also going to bring in the Space Fog Stencil. So it's got a stencil and it also has these two masks. We're going to have fun with that. And as you can see, we have a bunch of solar sprays and we have a solar paste. We are going to bring in a black mixed media paper and we're going to have fun making the background of this card. I'm super excited about it and I love how pretty it ends up being and how simple it really is. So let's go ahead and get started making our background. So that black mixed media cardstock measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So it's the full front of an A2 size card. And we're going to start off by using the mask. And I'm just going to use a little bit of mint tape to hold that in place, just kind of moving that around until I'm happy with where it is. We're going to start by doing some spraying. So I've got several of those colors. We've got 5 of them. There's a total of 6 of these. I've got 5 of them that we're going to be using. That first color is Cross My Heart. It's kind of a red color. And then we're going to move on to this orangey color, which is called Overheated. And as you can see, I'm trying to shake both of them at one time. There's a lot of mica down at the bottom, and so you just want to make sure that you're shaking those really well. And you could just keep checking by turning those over to make sure that you have all of those bits mixed in there. The next color, that yellow color, is Golden Hour. And it doesn't really look like I'm doing much, I know. But I'm going to hold this up to the camera after I'm done and you're going to be really like, wow, that's pretty cool. The next color is Crocodile Tears, that green that we used, and then this final color is called Beluga. There is a purple color and that's called Royal Flush. We are not going to be using that one today because I'm going to be using the Royal Flush solar paste. So let me peel off that mask and let me hold this up to the camera for you to see just how absolutely stunning that is. So just holding it straight on, you don't see much, but when it hits the light, how gorgeous is that? So now I need my stencil, and I'm going to just attach this down to my tonic platform using some magnets, and then I'm going to bring in that Royal Flush solar paste. It's such a pretty color. It doesn't, again, look like much when you're just kind of spreading this around, but as you can tell, the undertones of it are purple. And even when this dries, because I have it on fairly thick, it's going to be mostly like a white color until you stick it in the light, which is what I thought was going to be perfect for our sweet little Milky Way. So I wanted to try and make it flat, and then when I got to playing around with it, it wasn't working, so I just decided to spread that down and make it look, I don't know, a little bit chunky. I'm not done with that background yet. I do want to use a little bit of Picket Fence Distress Paint. I'll dilute it with a little bit of water here in a second once I hit the solar paste with my heat tool. That's not totally dry yet, but at least will kind of dry the outside of it. And then I'm going to splatter that Picket Fence Distress Paint all over the place. It's even getting on our paste. It looks pretty cool. So now that it's fairly dry, take a look at how gorgeous that solar paste is and how beautiful those solar sprays are together. Just looks absolutely stunning. Big fan of how this background turned out. So now we're going to move on to our pieces, and Miles is he's all over the place. So he woke up from a nap. We have actually been gone for over a week on a vacation, and this little guy was just not going to leave me alone. You can see his little tail's puffed. He's moving all over. He wants attention so bad. And it wasn't enough that we had somebody come and check on him twice a day and play with him for like 45 minutes each time. It wasn't enough. So he has not left me alone since we got home last night. So I'm using Blackout ink by Ink on 3. I'm trying to stamp this down onto some Express It cardstock. And I'm going to end up having to restamp these because Miles just isn't having it. He eventually will step over the top of this, and he's going to smear that ink, so I end up having to restamp my images, which is fine. That's okay. I love this cat. What you don't see is that I do spend, after that happened, I spent about 20 minutes just petting him, hoping he would feel secure and loved. All right, now that everything is re-stamped, I went ahead and stamped out my sentiments, and I did stamp out another image. The happy birthday doesn't come from the Milky Way stamp set. It actually comes from the Another Orbit, but I did want to make this a birthday card. My birthday stash has just been kind of decimated lately, and so I need to restock on those a little. And so that was the plan. And I love mixing and matching like that. That's always great. So I've got those Olo markers. So those are alcohol markers if you're unfamiliar. And I am going, well, in this case, I went dark to light. Typically, I go light to dark. But we're just kind of blending that dark out with the lighter, cool gray color. I missed a spot on his back, but we will fix that right now. And trying to put all those colors up on the screen. So like I said, this was stamped out with some blackout ink by Ink on 3 and stamped onto some Express It cardstock. That's a good combination for alcohol markers. And I'm kind of playing off the colors that I've already sprayed onto my background, which is why I've chosen some of these red-violet colors. And we're doing that on the cow as well. And then we're going to bring in a lighter red color, some 5.1, and then we'll do some 5.5 for his udders, or 5.3, then I bring in 5.5 for his udders, his face, and his underbelly. And then the final color I bring in is some yellow. I wanted to stay fairly simple with these. And so I've got our Y 1.2. And I love the, like I said, I love the retro feel of it. The stars even look kind of 1950s. I love how the moon is this retro shape. It just makes me super happy. And the illustration of that cow is just darling, his little smile. So we're going to bring in the matching dies that go along with this set. I do die cut out the happy birthday as well. That came from the Another Orbit, but I don't end up using the happy birthday. So I'll run this through my die cutting machine after everything is everything was tacked down with that mint tape. And then you'll see what we have. There's a nice white border around each of our images. And so here is my card base. That measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and it was scored at 4 1/4. It's going to be a top folding A2 size card. I'm going to glue down our little moon on the inside, and then that happy birthday that I'm going to stamp out. Like I said, that came from Another Orbit. I'm going to stamp that on the inside just using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. Now the inside's done. Let's finish the outside. I'll glue down my panel. Everything is nice and dry. So I'll glue that down using some of that liquid glue. And then for each of my images, oh, take a look at that. So gorgeous. I just wanted to sit and look at it the whole time. But for each of my images and along with my sentiment, I am going to use some foam tape to prop these up on. So this is just one I had in my stash, and I'm going to cover the backs of those. Then we'll peel off that release paper on each one of those and we'll stick it down. The Milky Way sign is going to go over our little space fog. And then we'll peel off the release paper on our cow. I do have him holding the little milk carton or the little milk bottle. He's so cute. And then I'll peel off the release paper on our sentiment. Greetings from Outer Space. But of course I couldn't stop there. So I do bring in these embellishments. These are gorgeous. This is called the Multicolor Meteorite. And it has so many pretty colors in there, different sizes. There's pinks and greens and blues and whites. And then there's also some tiny stars. But it's such a beautiful mix. And so I'm just going to use my pickup stick and we will prop a bunch of those down. I eventually have to be pretty quick because once again, Miles decided to come in. It's like he knows when things are wet or when there's tiny pieces that could go flying across my desk. He just knows. Surprised that he didn't come in while I was using the paste. I will say that. But all right, so we've got everything tacked down. I'm telling him, my goodness, buddy, you just have to be in the mix. And I think I'm basically done here. Get a couple more pieces down, a couple more stars, and then that's going to finish off the card. I love, love, love how this turned out. And I don't know, I'm just happy with that background, those fun embellishments, and our adorable little retro cow. He's so cute. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.